Hi. The lawyer's going to need a lot more information from me than what I've already given. In 2012, I figured out how to run my diamond head on accident because it was an accident because it wasn't time yet. It was on purpose on my part, but someone said it was an accident, that some stuff went offline. And it was actually me realizing that I had a surgery with a bunch of stuff put in my stomach, and then I realized that all the microchips that are hidden in couches of all these public places that I go to were what was the girls were using to hear me thinking. And I always knew they were there. I just thought that they would just listen to my thinking, but I didn't realize that they were going through my diamond head. So now that I do, it makes sense because I figured out how to turn them off. But way back then in 2012, there was playbacks to prove it. All I would do was carry a remote control around with me, which is probably how I did in 1981. And the way my body works is that I take the control with me, and then if I put a remote control to it and I do the sequence of buttons that are meant to turn it off, to change the inputs, it works. It's like a TV. And so I brought a remote control around with me, and I would turn them all off in Sun City. Every time I went to Starbucks, I would turn off all the seats and everything that I would sit on before I'd sit on them. After a while, I didn't even use the remote control anymore because I realized that you'll see in my playbacks when I start to make things, I'm making force fields and stuff, because I had a battery pack in me that I crapped out a month before I went to Utah from Sun City. But with that battery pack, for a good 3 years, it was in me. From that surgery, I started using my powers, basically. And you'll see me, fight them. They kept trying to fly crap on me, and I would build force fields. First thing I learned to build was walls, and force fields and stuff like that. Eventually, I had a force field around my whole body. I was walking around and nothing could hit me. It would just fall before it got to me. But on that note, I can still prove that those microchips that were running the Hear Me Thinking network had to have been going through me at that point, because even though there were microchips over there, there were line of sight receivers on the telephone poles and the light poles, I was still effectively turning them off by just doing remote control commands at them, no matter how far away it was. This is worth looking into because I believe that's how I controlled things, and I believe that's how they set up their microchip network to do the sensor network that was following me around, hearing me think. I know it sounds crazy, but if they have a scanner in my head and they keep taking that Xerox slice on me and they're walking around my wings, then they're doing that stuff. And therefore, they were selling microchips that are just microchips for when so that they have something to reference to me, and I'm looking at it, and then that's it. And they probably put the shapes I need in there, and the acoustic receiver transmitters, that would be nice. But whatever they were, the patent architectures don't divulge that my diamond head and wings were what was running that thing. I think that's going to be a lawyer topic, so I'm bringing it up. Because I could control the microchips just by turning them off. But I didn't have to use a remote control. I could just pretend I was using a remote control. And then when I lost the battery pack, it stopped working for me like that. So I lost the battery pack before I went to Utah in 2013. When I lost the battery pack, I stopped using my wings and arms in a way that was totally powered by me and no one else. But when I did have it, I made a good 90 macros on the remote control. And I would just record random things. I would take a shovel and scratch it across the sidewalk real loud, and then record that as a macro. And I would make that macro 49, or macro 57, or macro 62. And then every time I play 62 enter, that would be the sound. That's how I was doing my playbacks. That would be the sound of that shovel playing back. So then I would make little objects like triangles and put them up on a UAV following me. And then I would menu select that item to have 5 59 megahertz, enter. And I used the syntax because I was a programmer from the engineering world. So it worked. So like that's how I would take my battery pack and put like a thing on a UAV, and then I assigned a frequency. So when UAVs started following me around one day, I put a bunch of objects on the UAVs. And then I knew all the frequencies for their control stations. So I used all those frequencies. And then once I had the frequency on there, then I applied the scraping the shovel sound to it to distort it, to jam it. And I crashed, I think, 2 or 3 UAVs. I know I crashed one for sure. They were above me. I did that. That's the kind of stuff that I was doing by myself alone in Sun City for 10 months. I had wars literally with these things that were flying above me. And at one point they would fly because they knew how to fly stuff into me. And they would keep filling up my B side or my A side with crap and gross stuff. And at one point I had like literally like 1 million organisms chasing me down. And I would have to come up with ways to change them. I would make a like hole and then send everything to that hole, and then it would drop and everything would go to the. So if I went to a store, I would make like a vacuum on top of the store because they were. And I truly was able to stop them from flying crap at me. But then I lost the battery pack. After I lost the battery pack, it got real bad for me. It didn't work anymore, and it stopped working. Within a month, I was driving back to Utah and went on the run. So that should be. I'm giving my first rendition of my events of 2012, and I spent the whole year 2012 trying to figure out how to use my vision or my powers, and I didn't realize how old I was at the time. I just thought that I had them and they put something in me to make it better or something. I don't know. Okay, thank you.